"Sir, you don't have a ticket for this section. I've told you 3 times. You need to leave or we'll remove you," the stadium security guard barked, his patience clearly gone. Elias Thorne, 83, a decorated but unassuming veteran, clutched his worn baseball cap, his heart sinking. He just wanted to see his grandson play, a promise made long ago. "But this is Section 102, my son said." Before he could finish, 2 guards grabbed his arms, their grips like iron, and began forcibly marching him up the crowded aisle toward the exit, amidst the confused stares of other fans. 5 minutes later, as Elias sat dejectedly on a bench outside the stadium, the roar of the capacity crowd abruptly died. The Jumbotron flashed, game delayed, official announcement pending. Then a steely voice echoed from the stadium's PA system, a voice accustomed to command, freezing every player on the field. If you believe loyalty to family and service transcends stadium rules, type honor below. Elias Thorne was a man of quiet routines and even quieter valor. His small, tidy apartment held few mementos of his 30 years in the Army, mostly spent in roles far from the limelight, signals intelligence, and behind-the-lines reconnaissance during conflicts largely forgotten by the public. His medals, including a Distinguished Service Cross, earned for an act of selfless bravery under extreme duress, were tucked away. His pride now lay in his family, especially his grandson David, a rising star quarterback for the city's beloved college football team, the Titans. Today was the championship game, the culmination of David's collegiate career, and Elias wouldn't have missed it for the world. David had personally arranged a ticket for him, a prime seat in Section 102, right near the 50-yard line, among other players' families. Elias, dressed in his best, though slightly worn, navy blazer, a modest tie, and his favorite old baseball cap, had taken 3 buses to get to the stadium, his excitement a warm glow against the chilly autumn air. He clutched the printed e-ticket David had mailed him, eager to witness his grandson's triumph. He wasn't seeking special treatment, just a chance to be a proud grandfather. The stadium pulsed with energy. Tens of thousands of fans, a sea of team colors, roared their approval as the teams warmed up. Elias, navigating the crowded concourse, with his slight limp, a souvenir from a long-ago parachute landing gone wrong, finally found the entrance to Section 102. He presented his printed e-ticket to the young usher, a college student named Kevin, who was clearly overwhelmed by the throngs of people. Kevin scanned the ticket, frowned, then scanned it again. Sir," Kevin said, looking flustered. "This ticket isn't validating in my scanner. It says seat already occupied or invalid code." Elias felt a knot of anxiety. "But that can't be right. My grandson, David Thorne, the quarterback, he secured this ticket for me." "It should be valid," Kevin flustered and trying to keep the line moving, waved him toward a nearby supervisor, a beefy man in a security polo shirt named Henderson. "You'll have to speak to him, sir. I can't let you in if the ticket doesn't scan." Henderson listened to Elias's explanation with barely concealed impatience. He took the printed ticket, glanced at it dismissively. "Look, old-timer," Henderson said, his voice gruff, "these e-tickets get duplicated sometimes. People try to scam their way in. If it ain't scanning, it ain't valid. Section 102 is prime seating, reserved for VIPs and verified family. You don't look like either." He handed the useless paper back to Elias. "But my grandson is the quarterback," Elias insisted, his voice rising slightly in desperation. "David Thorne. He arranged this personally." Other fans in line were starting to stare, some annoyed at the delay, others with pitying glances. Yeah, everyone's related to the quarterback today," Henderson scoffed, a smirk playing on his lips. "Sir, I'm telling you, this ticket is no good. You can try the general admission ticket office around the corner, see if they have any nosebleed seats left, but you're not getting into this section without a valid, scannable ticket or proper credentials. Now, please step aside. You're holding up the line." The finality in his voice, the public dismissal, felt like a physical blow. Elias clutched his cap, his face flushing with a mixture of anger and deep humiliation. He had faced down far more formidable adversaries than this overzealous stadium guard, but the thought of missing David's game, of breaking a silent promise to be there, was devastating. He saw no point in arguing further with a man so clearly entrenched in his petty authority. "There must be some mistake with the system," Elias said quietly, his last attempt at reason. "Could you at least check the family manifest list for David Thorne?" Henderson rolled his eyes. "Sir, I don't have time to play detective. Either you have a working ticket or you move along. Those are your options." He then turned to two other security guards standing nearby. "Guys, this gentleman seems to be having trouble understanding. Could you assist him toward the main concourse?" The assist was clearly a euphemism for removal. The two guards, younger and more muscular, stepped forward, their expressions impassive. One placed a firm hand on Elias's arm. "Come on, Pop, let's go. Don't make a scene." Elias, his heart heavy with defeat and a burning sense of injustice, offered no resistance as the guards began to firmly escort him up the crowded aisle of Section 102. Away from the field, away from his grandson's view. He could feel the stares of the other families, the whispers. The humiliation was a bitter pill. They were almost at the top of the aisle, near the exit to the main concourse, when Elias, in a last desperate act, remembered a contact. Years ago, during a USO tour to a remote combat zone, he'd befriended a young then-Major General who was commanding the forces in that theater. That general, Alistair Rock Hammond, was now a 4-star chairman of the Joint Chiefs and, Elias knew, a passionate alumnus of this very university and a huge supporter of its football program. He was almost certainly at this championship game, likely in a VIP box. It was an audacious long shot, but Elias had nothing left to lose. "Excuse me," he said to the guard, still gripping his arm, his voice surprisingly steady. "Could you possibly get a message to General Alistair Hammond? Tell him Sergeant Major Elias Thorne is being removed from his grandson's game." The guard snorted. "General Hammond? Yeah, sure. And I'm the Queen of England. Keep moving, buddy." But another person overheard, a woman in an alumni blazer sitting in an aisle seat who happened to be on the university chancellor's personal staff. She recognized General Hammond's name, and something in the old man's desperate plea and dignified bearing struck her. As Elias was pushed through the exit, she discreetly pulled out her phone and made a quick, urgent call to the chancellor's office, relaying the message. 5 minutes. That's all it took. Elias was sitting dejectedly on a concrete bench in the noisy outer concourse, the roar of the crowd from inside the stadium a painful reminder of what he was missing. He was trying to figure out how to even contact David after the game to explain. Suddenly, the roar from the stadium didn't just continue, it abruptly died. An unnatural echoing silence fell, followed by confused murmurs that even Elias could hear from outside. The jumbotron, visible through a gap in the stadium structure, which had been showing instant replays, flickered and then flashed a stark message, "Game temporarily delayed." Official announcement pending, then a new voice, amplified by the stadium's massive PA system, cut through the silence. It was a voice accustomed to command, a voice that radiated an unshakable authority that froze every player on the field. Mid-stride, silenced tens of thousands of fans, and made Elias Thorne's own heart leap. "Attention, please. This is General Alistair Hammond. We have a situation regarding the family of one of our star players that requires immediate rectification before this game can continue." Inside the stadium, all eyes turned toward the VIP box where General Hammond now stood, microphone in hand, his expression like thunder. "It has come to my attention," the general's voice boomed, "that Sergeant Major Elias Thorne, a decorated combat veteran, the grandfather of our quarterback David Thorne, and my personal guest, has been improperly and disrespectfully removed from his designated family seating by stadium security. This is an unacceptable outrage." The stadium was utterly silent, save for the general's powerful voice. "Henderson, The security supervisor, who had been preening near the sideline, felt a cold dread grip him. The two guards who had removed Elias looked at each other in panic. "Sergeant Major Thorne," General Hammond continued, his voice resonating with controlled fury, "is a man who has served this nation with extraordinary distinction. He is a hero in the truest sense of the word. The suggestion that he would scam his way into a football game or that he doesn't fit the profile for family seating is an insult not only to him, but to every man and woman who has ever worn the uniform of this country, and to the very spirit of this university, which prides itself on honoring its veterans." He paused, his gaze sweeping the silent stadium. "This game will not resume until Sergeant Major Thorne is located, personally apologized to by the head of stadium security and the university chancellor, and escorted back to his rightful seat in Section 102, with the honor and respect he is due. Furthermore, the security personnel involved in this disgraceful incident will be immediately removed from their posts for the remainder of this game, and their conduct will be subject to a full review by university authorities." He then looked directly at where he knew the TV cameras were focused, and to Sergeant Major Thorne, "If you can hear me, sir, your grandson David and this entire university are immensely proud of you. We await your return to your seat so we can all witness the victory you came here to see him achieve. We will hold the game." The PA system clicked off, leaving an echoing silence, followed by a slowly building murmur that turned into a roar of confused, then supportive, then outraged applause directed at the implied injustice. David Thorne, on the sideline, was being briefed by his coach, his face a mixture of shock, anger, and overwhelming pride. He looked toward the VIP box and gave a sharp, grateful nod to General Hammond. The scene outside the stadium was one of controlled chaos, turning into focused action. Within moments of the general's announcement, the university chancellor, the athletic director, and a frantic head of stadium security were converging on the concourse where Elias sat. The two guards who had removed him were located and immediately, publicly relieved of their duties by a furious security chief. Henderson, the supervisor, was summoned to the chancellor's side, his face ashen. Elias Thorne, the quiet, unassuming grandfather, suddenly found himself the center of a whirlwind of apologies and solicitous attention. The chancellor himself offered his arm to Elias. "Sergeant Major Thorne," he said, his voice filled with genuine remorse, "there are no words to express how profoundly sorry I am for the unacceptable treatment you received. Please allow me to personally escort you to your seat. You are our most honored guest." Elias, overwhelmed but his dignity restored, accepted the chancellor's arm as he was led back into Section 102, not by guards but by the university chancellor, and with General Hammond now descending from the VIP box to meet him at the aisle. The entire section, then the nearby sections, and then what seemed like the entire stadium, rose to their feet in a deafening, sustained standing ovation. "David!" Thorne ran to the edge of the field, waving, his eyes shining. Elias, tears now freely streaming down his own face, raised a hand in acknowledgement, the old baseball cap clutched over his heart. He was seated in the best seat in Section 102, surrounded by apologies and respect. The game resumed, and David Thorne, fueled by a new fire, played the game of his life, leading the Titans to a resounding victory, frequently glancing up to Section 102 to share a look with his grandfather. The incident became university legend. Stadium security protocols were overhauled. Henderson was demoted. The message was clear. Honor, respect, and family were not to be trifled with, especially when a four-star general was holding the microphone. Elias, who had only wanted to watch his grandson play, had inadvertently taught an entire stadium a lesson about looking beyond appearances and recognizing the quiet heroes among them, because sometimes the most unassuming individuals carry the weight of history, and their quiet dignity, when challenged, can bring even the biggest games to a halt, reminding everyone what truly matters. Subscribe to Hidden Sparks if you believe that family. Pride and heroic sacrifice deserve the best seats in the House, always.